Back to life, new energy infused into Kwaito and Kwela. Africa is balling. Every stroke, every shot, every race, we find our place at the top. Taking the helm of real power, new hopes for democracies. A breed of entrepreneurial tigers, audacious storytellers, and a promising generation raring to go. Truly, Africa is rising. And this is where the stories that define our continent live.
Good morning, Africa, and welcome to the all-new, revamped JASIRI. I'm Tolulope, Adeleru-Balogun.
Welcome, everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful time. We're big and bold. My name is Omotunde Adebowale-David.
And of course, we are young and fresh. And it is the ambassador for the Gen Zs reporting for duty, Big Boy.
Apart from being young and fresh, we're also loud and proud. I am Catherine Obiang. Welcome to JASIRI.
So Catherine was not able to join us for the first episode yesterday, and that was unavoidable. But now she needs to make up for missing out. So
forgive me, guys.
What is the bribe?
No, how can I bribe my beautiful ladies?
What's that? Who are you doing eye to? Is it working for you?
You'll be the only one on the show next time.
I like that kind of bribe.
Team, no, you can't do that. But no, don't worry. I promise that, okay, as a bribe, we're going to have a fantastic outing today. That's all.
Okay. All right. We put all that responsibility on Catherine's shoulders. Now, we told you, of course, it's the new revamped JASIRI, and we've been getting a lot of questions as to what JASIRI means. So let me just give you a quick definition and breakdown. JASIRI is a Swahili word that means bold, brave, and courageous. And when we were putting together the show, looking at the women and the perspectives we want to share, we thought we wanted to have bold, brave, and courageous conversations, and JASIRI was just a natural fit. Ladies, does it work?
Of course it works. Beautifully also. And I like the fact that it's a reflection of Africa, not just Nigeria, because Nigeria is part of Africa, and for this to work, we have to be together. We have to work together as one, as Africa.
You know, before I researched about JASIRI, right, when I first heard the name, I think I was telling someone about it, and the person was like, what does it mean? I'm like, something about being fearless and bold, and like, is it fearless or what? You got to choose one.
It doesn't matter. We're global. The world is a global village, and everybody must speak every other person's language. So it's a beautiful fit.
I'm just worried about my Yoruba people. JASIRI. I just had to say it.
Is it JASIRI?
I'm thinking about my parents in the village when you said JASIRI, you want? It's all right, so we'll take it like that. But we have a great show for you again today. So yesterday we picked on the struggles and the travails of who is now the suspended Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation. That's Dr. Betta Edu. And now her travails have continued, and we're going to look into that. And more news that came out last night with more suspensions and, do we call it sacks, from individuals who are holding high positions in ministries, departments, and agencies under the Tinubu administration. So we'll get into that in a bit. And then some good news. The Tinubu administration has agreed to pay 12 billion naira in owed salaries to our national teams. Ladies, we have our sports analyst coming in to talk about that. And
very exciting.
Anything that has to do with payments.
The payments, you like that? Alert,
until I see that the money is sent, I'm not excited.
I'm also thinking, okay,
and the money is quite huge. I want to find out, why is it so much?
Exactly.
But they're owing them for a millennium.
They've been owing for a long time. And I think that they're worth every penny, to be honest. But it feels like they had been like underrated.
Oh yeah, so okay, so I get that. But so what's the deal?
You started.
Sorry.
Pause. We're gonna put a pause on that because that's part of our conversations for today, and we're going to have our sports analyst joining us. But we have newspapers for you. In case you've missed the front pages, let's get straight to the front pages.
welcome back to JASIRI. Let's take a look at the headlines screaming at us on today's front pages. Okay, our first story that's screaming at us comes from The Punch this morning. Now, from The Punch, we have, or is it from the Daily Independent?
Okay, it's the Daily Independent.
It's the Daily Independent. Today, we take a look at the headline screaming from the Daily Independent. It screams at us 585 million naira scam. EFCC summons suspended Minister of Humanitarian Affairs. There are 3 riders there. HURTWA says Tinubu's action, right step in the right direction. Tinubu's action consistent with law, not questionable, says Uzodimma. There's also the 3rd rider, probe must establish intention to defraud or ignorance, Sagay. Now, when I look at this headline, I see, okay, well, there's sensationalism, yes, but there's a lot of questions that I would ask. I'm like, okay, so why is this such a screaming headline? Why is a suspended Minister of Humanitarian Affairs dragged seemingly through the mud? What do people have to say about this? I always ask this question, is there a bigger?
I'm just a bit worried. The fact that it's a woman, I'm beginning to hear, oh, they're giving them a chance, and yes, women are beginning to mess up. We're so corrupt. We're this, we're that.
I saw that coming.
I knew that was going to come.
And it's more dicey because Betta represents not just the women now, but also the youth, because she's quite young. When she started, so it's
37,
like they asked women, they asked for a chance, we gave them. The youth asked for a chance. There's a representation of both,
But these cannot be a representation of us. We can't make it an omnibus. You can just say that.
So are we even keeping score? Because if we're keeping score, there have been more men in positions of power and authority and ministers with alleged mismanagement. So if we want to do a scorekeeping, let's not go there.
And there's no much uproar. If we're going to be unearthing all the dirty things that are under the carpet.
Why is this trending so much? Is it because, like Blessing says, is it because she's a representation of the youth? Is it because, is this something that was even planned before she stepped into office? These are questions.
It's a massive question. When we had Segun Sopitan join us yesterday, there's also the fact that she actually didn't have to write to the AGF for that request.
There are conspiracies that she's a pawn in a bigger picture, just like you said.
Yeah, but if you're a pawn, how can you not see that?
But the thing is, I think
because you're a pawn.
She's new in government. This is probably her first rodeo.
No, but have you seen the video where? Have you seen the video where she was at Shiloh? Yes, and she said by this time next year, I want to be a minister in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And there have been questions. So we've always had the questions about fitting round pegs into square holes. What is her antecedent for her to become a minister, whether it's young women and we're trying to check off diversity situations? What other antecedents, not just her, but a whole bunch of other people, and not just in this administration, but in also previous administrations? What makes you worthy and qualified to be a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in a specific portfolio?
Apart from just wishing that, okay, I wish it was, I could handle this office. But then again, you do your what do you call it?
Homework.
You do your homework as well. You ask questions. You cannot tinker with things that you're not familiar with.
Yeah,
you cannot dabble into waters that.
I was having a conversation, yesterday with someone, and the person did say something that anybody can be a minister, right? Not because you don't need educational qualification. You do, but there has to be like set rules and standards, and that's why it boils back down to the ministry. It's funny because the headlines we were reading, I was reading the one below, and I saw where someone was asking the federal government to account for 7 point something, is it billion or trillion? So now you're suspending somebody for not being able to account.
Can you suspend yourself?
Can you suspend yourself? So it's like it's a general problem. It's a ministry thing, not a minister thing, because before her there were other people, either those who have admitted or been alleged.
Mine is, we cannot just let this continue to slide.
Yeah.
There has to be some accountability somewhere where somebody can be held. This one, we don't even need to tinker so much. We know there's some kind of conspiracy somewhere under it. But she wasn't just smart enough. And she just let herself be used. And now it's corruption. Everybody's going to have to take off the clothes. I want to see what's underneath.
The story will keep developing. Like I said, I don't know if The Guardian has the same headline or because it's a big story. It's a developing story. There you go. The Guardian screams almost the same headline. EFCC quizzes embattled Edu. Others as anti-graft uproar heightens. Now that's a big story there, and of course, see them looking pretty in the pictures there. But now EFCC is drawn into the mix, and Lolo, before we took this headline, you were talking about accountability, and there have been probes. There's been, remember, back then, we're all together in 2010 or 11, we're talking about that. Farouk Lawan?
But this is really disheartening.
There were probes, you understand? But what comes out of it? What comes out of the
This
probes?
is really disheartening.
Moving forward, what's going to happen? If we're going to paint a picture based on how things have been in Nigeria, where do you see this going? These are conversations.
But these are women. That's where it hurts.
They're not only women. There's a man involved, and there are other men.
The bulk of
even
them
now,
are women.
The Minister of Interior Affairs is also finding himself under a cloud, under allegations as well, that his wife may have been involved or gotten some licenses or some work that she should not have gotten. So it's not only women.
But
So
the thing is, the majority of them are women. And it's been our own problem from time immemorial that when it's women, they're going to come harder.
Like a witch hunt.
Like
because
a witch
we're always
hunt.
asking.
Now they said we want to give them a chance, and that's where it really just doesn't sit
Like
well
that's
with
it's
me.
like we're glorifying what should be normal. I mean, everybody should be involved in politics. So because we're clamoring for it now, you're saying, okay, we've given you the chance and you messed it up. And I believe that there really needs to be stricter punishments. I mean, look at the U.S. for example. Donald Trump is still facing some allegations about what he did at the U.S. Capitol.
But can they really be stricter?
You know,
can they really be stricter?
There's a possibility for prison sentence. But here you just hear step down, resign, actually, like, suspended.
And not just step down, resign. You'll be hearing some things like compensation.
Yes.
And I don't want that to
paid
ever
leave.
happen.
Okay.
You know, somebody disgraced out of office, and you'll be hearing things like silent compensation. Just go home, don't worry, we'll find you something.
It's like bow and go
be
at the National Assembly.
There should be, in fact, 5 years, 10 years, 20.
For
the next time you think about it.
Let's take a look at our last paper for today from the headlines, the Nigerian Tribune. Is the Tribune singing the same song?
Catherine and singing, rather than the Daily Sun.
The Daily Sun.
You have to sing it.
They're singing it.
They're singing it.
Suspended.
I mean, like I say, it's one of the biggest headlines of the day. Suspended Minister Betta Edu whisked away in security truck as usual. There are, I don't know why they're headlines
Honestly,
without...
did you
Can
read
there
the
ever be headlines
account?
without the riders? Denied access to Tinubu, Aso Rock tag withdrawn. President directs Finance Minister to conduct diagnostic investigations. EFCC begins grilling today. I mean, look at the heavy
Honestly,
words.
I looked at it like I was watching the movie.
No.
You know, they said she was sitting at the TV room. She watched TV. The president did not attend to her. Then by the time she got out, all her details had gone. They'd taken her pass away from her. In fact, they said they had to fight to get one of the security operatives to, you know, take her out of the villa.
Wow.
You know, it must have been so traumatizing. Even in all
like
of this.
everything
I hope
happening
she,
in one
honestly,
fell swoop.
I just hope that she doesn't take this sitting down.
Yeah.
She has to fight this. If there is any...
That's if.
If.
Because I wouldn't say that she doesn't have her own, fault in all of this. She should have known what she's doing. She was put there, I want to believe, because she's smart, right? You won't just let someone, you can't be a pushover in such a sensitive position, especially representing the interest of certain people. You cannot just allow people, if something is wrong, you should speak up.
Well,
right?
besides, when you surround yourself with a team, I mean, this kind of job, it's not one that
and that's a point that I think people are starting to ask. Ministers come and go. What's the saying? Soldiers will come and go. Now barracks remain. Civil servants inside the ministries will remain. They are the engines of what ministers do. And at the end of the day, when one minister leaves and another comes, they do need to lean on the civil servants to show them the way. So my question comes back to, who were the people advising her within the ministry? I'm not necessarily a conspiracy theorist. I'm not sure.
Honestly,
I think she was set up. But we need to look at, because she didn't type that letter. She didn't print it herself. It was brought to her table to sign.
Yeah, but would it then have been under guise? You put it among files and hide it and discuss
You
it?
watch too many
conspiracy. There is no way we can let this go without that conspiracy thing.
Okay,
she
so
could
you
have
know,
done this
so
on her own.
we obviously see it's a big conversation for us,
Yes,
and it's
it
also top of the agenda for us when we come back from the break. And that's, of course, the conversation we're going to be taking on. Betta Edu is expected to be grilled by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission today, but she's not the only one who finds herself under a cloud of scandal. All of those conversations are coming up with our first guest on JASIRI today. Stay with us.
direct response to live happenings, factual content as truthful reporting is at the heart of our responsibility. This is the site of where the building collapse happened at about 4-5 yesterday evening. I am Bettina Onwili. This is News Central.
Africa needs its own storytellers, people who understand the continent because they're from it. People who know that news is more than just a conversation starter, it's our stories. Because these stories run deeper than headlines and segments. It's about digging deeper to get the facts and telling the human side of every single story, not just the echoes from foreign headlines and perspectives. It's time to take back our narratives and share them in our voices. The birth of Africa's New Age reporting, and this is where it begins, right here at News Central TV, with stories that put Africa first.
Thanks for staying with us on JASIRI. Now, already we have teased into our next conversation, so I'm just going to very quickly give some update, but not before throwing out this light joke. I mean, someone did say that she should have known to do better, and I thought, oh, okay, this is someone that should have done better with her educational background. My God. See what I did there?
Yeah, we see it. We see it.
I've been rehearsing for this
Better should have done better.
You were rehearsing.
With her educational background. You see that? Anyway, so now here's some update, right? The Betta Edu Saga continues, and in a new development, the president, Bola Tinubu, has approved her immediate suspension, as you all know, and denied her access to the villa. That's the movie that we're talking about. Now, the SA on Media and Publicity to the president, Ajuri Ngelale, announced in a statement yesterday, part of which reads, in line with his avowed commitment to uphold the highest standards of integrity, transparency, and accountability in the management of the Commonwealth of Nigerians, the president suspends the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and all of that. Now, the EFC also swung into action following the president's directive to invite Betta Edu to its headquarters located in Jabi, Abuja, over the alleged $500 million scandal. Anyways, to join us uncover this, we have a political analyst in the house, and I'm talking about Adeyemi Saka. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. It's nice to be here.
Welcome to JASIRI.
You were talking about having, being the king guy.
I think it's a prophecy. That was when I was young. I was going to be a king, and saying that I'm already walking down like 4 lorries.
More expensive, Olori.
No, but I won't go for a Gen Z.
Has anybody ever shown you shaking before?
Is that avoiding you? You want to serve a king breakfast?
No, we used to. No, Gen Z, no. We will excuse you. We can be in charge of.
We don't want to choose violence.
We don't want to.
With a sprinkle of violence.
No, don't worry. We're old school. We'll do it.
Anyways, all right, let's go to the conversation. And this is the most asked question, right? Is there a setup at play here?
Yeah, I probably want to tilt towards, your sentiment. If you look back in history, just, name back in history, there's Patrick at play, and for me, I'll tell you why. There's a list. You look at Olubunmi Grange. Professor Olubunmi Grange. From Grange, you look at Yabo Obasanjo Bello. You go further, you see Olubunmi 80 years. I'm not even excusing them, absolving them of any guilt or what. Then you look at it, you move further, the Haruna Ote. you know, and out there was a probe and panel, and she was exonerated, but her reputation has been damaged.
Yeah.
You look at Stella Odwa. You look at who else? Dr. Nune. I don't know if I get her name right. The NDDC probe.
Yeah.
And you know, the person that was co-accused or the counter-allegation is not the president of the Senate. And recently, you look at Muyiwa Dankaka, the Federal Character Commission chairperson, and now this Betta Edu. So it's this is not Betta Edu is not new to public administration. She was a former commissioner in Cross River State. But you ask yourself a question or some questions, pertinent questions. There was something called a retreat when they got into office.
Yes.
And you ask yourself, what were they taught, or what were they, you know, exposed to, or the kind of training they received during such retreat, that, you know, she probably would start, you know, going against lay down rules of the country, requesting, she didn't direct, she requested from funds to be moved to a private account. Now, the Financial Act or rule says if you move from government funds to a private account, or private account to it shows intent of fraud. And now the question is, this memo or these activity or these actions probably wouldn't get to public if there wasn't a counter allegation by the lady that was accused to have, you know, spent billions of naira within 5 days. Now, it now shows something that even the Attorney General, the Accountant General of the Federation, and Betta Edu, and the whoever the accountant.
I think that should be Halima Shehu. From...
No, I'm talking about the Mrs. Madden.
Okay, yes,
That's the Attorney General, and one Bridget, whatever in our ministry that received the money. Now the question is, why is Betta Edu being suspended, and the two other legs of the tripod of this crime are being pampered because they're all active players, you know, Betta Alpha Tango. So where's the Alpha, where's the Tango if Betta is down? You ask yourself that question. And it is this. Betta Edu wrote a memo to the Accountant General of the Federation, who is not under obligation, who is not answerable to Betta. If Betta wants to commit such a fraud, it would have been a memo to the Director of Finance in our ministry.
To direct him to release the funds.
So for her to go to those of the Accountant General, the Accountant General has the mandate to refuse, citing this is why I cannot disburse these funds. Citing relevant extant laws. And moving away from there, she has the right to probably write to the SGF and a supervising minister, who is the finance minister, that this is a wrong request from a ministry.
Flagging it.
Look into it. But they're all in play.
I like the way you played it. But, you know, I must ask, because we've seen several incidents like this where high-profile public officials, you know, they've been caught with their hands in the cookie jar, and we make a lot of fuss. Trust me, we talk about it, we blow it out of proportion, but eventually, everything just dies down. Is that something to be expected in this particular incident?
Yeah, I think if you dig deeper and you go deeper into this thing, it's going to be a mess on the present-day government. So they would not want to go deeper. Because one, let's ask ourselves, there was an allegation that the funds released or disbursed during that period was a form of vote buying.
For the off-cycle elections late last year.
Elections, you know, the PDP made the allegations when Professor Yomi Shibaja as the VP went distributing money just a few days to the elections. He probably could see the sentiment. Yes, it cannot prove it yet, but you know, if you look at the perception, look at vote buying. Now the question is, how did the Accountant General of the Federation go against laid down rules you know, of public office and public administration? And she's not sanctioned for not knowing her, because if you want to tell her that you want to excuse her for not being part of how the funds was expended, but she obviously worked or did something or ran foul of the laws of her office. She probably doesn't know her job description. So why is she being pampered? So I guess if you want to dig deeper, and now, I love what, I never believed there would be a time where I go with Professor Edu Saga. You know, his stint or his stay or probably, you know, incursion into public office with former President Muhammadu Buhari was a disaster. My personal opinion, though. So I wasn't, but when he said we should look if there was an error or there was an intent of fraud, I probably would not agree with him. Let's see, was she really going about this because she wants to defraud? We've not seen anything like embezzlement, diversion of fraud from funds and everything. So let's cut her some slacks. And let's see where, but it's not going to go anywhere, because if she's smart enough, or she's smart on the average, she probably will walk away.
And at the end of the day, just cut her losses.
And cut her losses. But she needs to, I tell people, maybe because of my practice, perception is key. You have to defend and fight for your reputation.
Because our reputation...
Perception equals your reputation in many cases.
Because your kids will grow up and dig up on the internet, probably say your mother is corrupt and what have you. So she needs to fight back, not necessarily fight back
for her job, fight back for her side.
That's just what I said, that she must go to court and at least...
No, she doesn't, might not necessarily go to court.
Let her side be told.
Let her side be told.
And be on record.
I wouldn't cut her, you should know your job, but I guess it was because of what the funds were intended for, That was why they had to go through that route.
So, as you said, Professor Ise Sage said they need to establish whether it was an intent to defraud or ignorance. But we also are told constantly ignorance is no defense before the law.
No, but she's not the only one that was ignorant of the law.
So why is she the only one who's getting blasted on headlines?
when I see JASIRI, Ingelali, I think the guy should tone it down. It's not even Nigerian that is bewitched or is under their spell. When you say some things and throw out some words, if you're saying the present administration wants to do things right and everything, why is the MD of NNPC still there?
So let's talk about this sort of fraudulent activity, corruption allegations in the public sector under this administration. Now this morning or late last night, we heard about the FCCP. I want to make sure I give you the right details on that. What the breaking news that came in last night, and that was, of course, that the president had removed Babatunde Irukere and Alex Oko as CEOs of Federal Competition and Commission and Consumer Protection Commission and the Bureau of Public Enterprises effective immediately. So he's dealing with a scandal with this minister. He removed Halima Shehu of the National Social Investment Program just about a week and two ago. We have the Sadia situation. All of this is a test, a very early test. His administration is still not a year old. It's a very early test for this administration and the issues around fraudulent activity in the public sector. What does this administration do? Because as you talk about perception, we know there's unfortunately a perception that has trailed him into being president. What does this administration do to clean up that perception, to show Nigerians it's addressing? We don't want a probe that goes nowhere. If she's guilty or anybody else is guilty, let them be held accountable. Blessings once, 5 years, 10 years. And I think there's a point to that because when we look at the amount of money, if these monies went to where they were going, that could be school, security, healthcare. We're talking about people's lives, and that's what this money is being diverted away from, if it was diverted or if it was intended to be diverted. So what next from this administration?
I probably want to take you back to someone. There's a man, he's very ingenious when it comes to dealing with the country, Ahmed Idris. The former Counsel General of the Federation that was said to have embezzled, was it 120 billion naira? What has become of that case? Nothing. And this government inherited that probe. What has happened? You know, when they tell us things that this government wants to move things right, and if there's one institution that has given us up, because Babatunde Irukere, is that his name? When he was, campaigning to become the governor of Kogi State, the only thing they were trained about him was a friend of the vice president. I said so. But when he got into that office, is one man that has given Nigerians the hope that we should trust our institutions that they can work.
So people are wondering what happened.
Now, you said you want to reform Rejig. You are removing somebody that's performed so well. I probably cannot say much for the BPA guy, but you have a Bichi, the head of the DSS, and constantly Nigerians are being killed, and Bichi is still there, not moved. So it gives everything, it gives everything a political coloration that is just about politics. You saw how Godwin Emefiele was wrongly removed. Not that I'm a fan of Emefiele, but like I said on a post of mine on Facebook some few days ago, I said the reason President Muhammadu Buhari lost me during his presidency was his retention of Emefiele, who oversaw what we could call a dark era in financial administration in Nigeria under Jonathan, but was kept there in office throughout, had his term renewed. And same thing with Bola Ahmed Tinubu, got into office. You have a MD of an NNPCL that at the Senate hearing, at the House of Representatives probe into subsidy payments and what have you, could not tell us the average consumption of PMS in a day, that was telling those guys to believe the figures he gives them off.
Which has always been in contention.
That oversaw the most corrupt regime of subsidy payments in Nigeria, because I can give you a breakdown. 2022, appropriation act. What was budgeted for subsidy payment was 340-something billion naira. when there was an article and everything, it shot up to 460 something. I'm giving you the trajectory. Then later to 1.4. Then later to 4.3 trillion. And this man is still in your government. You have DSS that's meant to be sits at top when it comes to espionage, counter-espionage, counter-terrorism, and what have you. And people are being killed daily in this country. That they could not preempt the attack in Plateau, that they could not preempt the attack that happened in Borno and what have you. So, and the guy is still there. But you will say it's probably doing your bidding. So it's not about politics. So it's not about the fact that you want to move Nigeria forward. It's just about the fact that you just want people that will be loyal to you.
Okay, so let's talk about, we've talked about a lot of things. Now let's get down to the crux of the matter. How do we ensure that mechanisms are put in place for accountability? Because apparently there's something going wrong in awarding contracts and payment protocols. So I don't know what's the basic mechanism that, first of all, has to be put in place? Because like Blessing said, there has to be some form of accountability. If it's jail term, yes. If it's 5, 10, 15, 20 years, yes. Otherwise, this is something that's going to happen over and over again. And we will sit down here and keep talking about it.
And talk about the next minister, the next head of an MDA, the next big scandal.
It just makes for conversation.
I think we need to tell ourselves if truly we're ready to become a nation. Because in Nigeria, as we speak, there are two sets of laws. Why the southern Nigerian, southeast, south, use probably follow the Criminal Justice Act. The northern Nigeria is still stuck on the Criminal Penal Code.
So that means we're even looking at things from two different
directions. I'll give you a perspective. I probably might be jumping away from. There was a time, there was a guy that came from, I don't know, maybe Kano, that married a minor in Bayelsa State and was charged to prison and what have you, based on the laws of our land. Go to Katsina State. The emir of Katsina took a girl, sanctioned the wedding of a minor, obviously a Christian, to a Muslim guy because he said the girl had converted to Islam.
Okay, I remember that story.
And the CP of Katsina State could not act based on the laws of Nigeria, was submitted himself to penal code or Sharia law.
Sharia law.
So he couldn't move against the emir of Katsina. So you look at it and you will say, how do you want to move forward as a country?
But is that
when we've not agreed on a national value?
Yes, but is that a difference in North and South versus a difference in the political elites and those they're meant to lead? Because the political elites, be them Northerner, Southerner, Easterner, Westerner, or whatever, they're all out for themselves.
No, that's what I'm coming to. You have to have a leader that really wants in Nigeria. Because at every point in time, everybody was just want to be the lord of the manor. I'm in charge. You see, and I'll say this, and you know, they might come from it, they might not like this. We have a national security advisor and a president that they are so bothered about being the strongest or the most influential politician in Nigeria. My perception, my opinion, not about the country. So if President Bola Tinubu wants to help Nigeria, you should probably look at strengthening the institutions, and the laws are there.
Yeah, the laws are.
We don't need new laws.
We don't need new laws.
There's somebody, a lot of people found out my relationship with him, but I still call him my principal, my whatever, General Babangida. It will tell you that we need to reevaluate our national values. We need to. If we rejig our national values, we draft it, and accept that nationally this is wrong, this is right, we'll move forward.
Okay. Because of time, Adeyemi Saka, we have to end the conversation on that. But I do know this Betta Edu, FCPCC, all of these scandals are going to keep developing, and I know that we'll be having you again soon.
Tunde Koiki did a fantastic job. So why do you need to relieve him?
A lot of people are asking that question. And as much as you were talking about Ajire earlier, we're surprised that the statement has not given anything. There was no thank you. Because normally, if you're going to say somebody is moving, oh, thank you for your service. No, this is a
the guy believes you're under their spell. Okay. So we are not.
Let's not get into that. We're going to tell us what's coming up next. Because if we go down that road, we won't have this conversation.
I know these conversations are just making for more interesting conversations, and the stories are just unfolding on a daily basis, and I know that we haven't heard the last of this story.
Definitely.
So much more is still ahead. But up next, we have a very interesting story. This is not common. We are having money disbursed after so long in the sports industry. Wait, we'll be right back.
Amen.
One is good.
Africa is rising. Again, we hear our sounds echo on the other side. Afrobeat and Afropop reinvented, hip life brought back to life, new energy infused into Kwaito and Kwela. Africa is balling. Every stroke, every shot, every raise, we find our place at the top. Taking the helm of real power, new hopes for democracies. A breed of entrepreneurial tigers, audacious storytellers, and a promising generation raring to go. Truly, Africa is rising. And this is where the stories that define our continent live.
It's not just news to us, it's our voice and our story. It's our report, how we tell African stories for Africans. With detailed, timely and authentic reports, News Central is your home for true news and African stories. I am Omolola Ololade. This is News Central.
Welcome back to JASIRI. Now, if you're just joining us, you're watching the new, relaunched, and revamped JASIRI right here on News Central. Now, how would you feel if you received salary, back pay, after 12 months? I'm very sure you'd be quite ecstatic. And the news that we're about to discuss next is leaving a lot of people representing Nigeria feeling just that, a level of ecstasy. And that's because President Tinubu has cleared a whopping 12 billion naira in outstanding allowances and promises. And joining us to get into this is the sports editor for News Central, Tunde Koiki. He joins the ladies of JASIRI. Tunde, welcome to JASIRI. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. I'm slightly overwhelmed, but I'm happy to be here.
Why? Please relax.
Beautiful, very intelligent women. It's not easy.
She's peaceful. I will keep her violence lady.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
She's the one who chooses violence. So what we know is that we're hearing 12 billion naira.
That's all we hear.
That's all we're hearing. And I can't think of anything else. This is salaries, entitlements. Unfortunately, this is not a new phenomenon. Owing, whether it's civil servants at the local government, states, and federal levels, or owing our national representatives. Yeah. We need a backstory. How did we get to the point of owing our national teams 12 billion naira?
Well, the honest truth is that the Nigeria Football Federation has been cash-strapped for quite a while. They've been having issues with getting money from the government, also issues with some of their sponsors pulling out. So the pool of money with which they used to execute a lot of their programs for the different national teams was reducing by the day. So that's now had to move resources from different places, try and allocate them as best as they can, which meant that a lot of things went unpaid, especially salaries, I beg your pardon, bonus, salaries inclusive of the national team coaches, bonuses and allowances. So what this meant was that a lot of the national team players felt slightly aggrieved about the fact that, you know, they were representing their fatherland, they didn't get as much as they expected. And it was an issue because it meant that they didn't play with that much intensity as they would rather would. Now, a lot of people are also asking why just 4 national teams, because this includes just the senior national teams, the Super Falcons and the Super Eagles, and the under 20 national teams as well, for both for the men's and women's. Yeah. There's also an under 17 national team, both for the men, well, do I say girls and boys? Yeah. But the Nigerian Football Federation wisely made a decision many years ago that the under 17 national teams were a developmental team, so which meant that they would only be paid camp allowances, daily allowances, and not match bonuses because they didn't want to incentivize them to make money the incentive for participation for the national team, which a lot of national teams around the world do. Youth teams are developmental. They don't pay them bonuses. The history of this started when military governments and politicians started throwing money at the players. If you win, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. Cars, exactly. So a lot of them became very entitled to it. But thankfully, the Nigerian Football Federation saw wisdom regarding this issue a few years ago and capped that at only under 20 and senior national team level. So some of these monies have been owed us way back as 2019. Wow. So, and they've been having a series of meetings, both for the women and the men. When will you get paid? But finally, the president has provided a January windfall for them. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're seeing that it's not just smiles on the face of the national team, because even Nigerians are quite excited for them. And from what you have said, there seemed to be a level of apathy. You know, they were no longer interested in doing the work as much. So would we say that this is enough motivation, looking at how they're preparing for the African Cup of Nations? Do you think this kind of gets them that boost?
Yeah, it can. I'm yet to meet someone who money doesn't boost. And I'm yet to meet someone who a windfall doesn't even boost even further. The honest truth is that they've called these players up to the national teams many times. They did show up. But it's just that you get the impression they didn't play with as much intensity as they normally would, knowing that, look, my money is sorted, I'm good, I can go and break a limb for my country. You get the impression that 50-50 tackles was kind of like 60-40, that, hey, if I break my leg, these people, they don't give a damn about me.
They haven't even paid me salary.
Exactly.
How will I get to the hospital?
And I believe that those promises that came initially was also like a ginger for them. Even without seeing the money, like, they're promises, don't worry, just play,
Absolutely. And the sad thing is that even the women national team is affected, but to a lesser extent. We do know that some of the backroom staff have not been paid. I think there are allowances for the FIFA Women's World Cup. So there's been a lot of issues. And I know everybody wants to pillory the NFF. I know everybody wants to flay them. But the honest truth is that you can only work with what you have. If the money is available, you will pay. And you can only allocate scarce resources as they come in. So, you know, it's been a bit of financial juggling here and there.
But you know, this is the year of the Olympics, and it's very important. But we have seen that it has happened to us in Nigeria a lot. It's either our teams are not prepared, underprepared, late,
kids
or
don't
unable to even, you know, compete. Maybe to things as little as they don't have jerseys and kits and shoes and everything. But now, we cannot just wait for windfalls. What is the way forward about getting sustainable funding? Because sports is something you need to do a preparation for. It's not like we just need to pay them to be on the flight to go. They need to prepare. We cannot keep hoping that a President Tinubu will just do the right thing every time after they have done so much. If we don't pay for preparation, how do we get them to win? And Nigerians are all about winning. I know how excited we all get when we win. The whole nation lights up. It's like Christmas tree. So how do we make this sustainable? Because another thing I'm seeing is that these teams are not, they have this lackluster that brands are not touching them. They don't look attractive for them to put money on.
Do we have enough time on JASIRI?
This is what you can do.
There's a lot to unpack.
Wait.
Because what Lolo says is lending to what I have in mind to ask, so that, because she spoke about windfall. Do we expect the government all the time to do these things? And then how about private sector participation? How about getting sponsorship? How about private sponsors, untapped revenue? Is it already something in progress? Has it started? Is it not starting? Are we are we sleeping on a bicycle as this?
Tunde said that we need to give him an hour.
Even an hour can't.
It's Lolo that triggered that. I was thinking,
believe it or not, the Nigerian Football Federation is the only sports association in Nigeria that is actually mentioned in the Nigerian Constitution, which means that they receive a direct line charge from the federal coffers. But believe it or not, it's one thing for the government to allocate money to you. It's another thing for you to get it on time.
For it to get to you, not even just on time.
For it to get to you, it has to go through approvals.
So you're saying that this approval now can take like 6 more months?
You better believe it.
So wait, so the president signing off on this money coming out does not mean the money is coming out
today.
That's why I said I wasn't excited.
That's another thing.
Hearing the news is different from hearing that they got the money.
But Tolu, you know we have to wait. Tolu, everybody calm down. You know we have to borrow money to be able to meet some of our needs.
All of our needs.
It's really, really tough. You've mentioned private sector participation. That's another very key.
In other countries, this is the norm.
But the honest truth is, the private sector, I've worked closely with them a lot of times, and they'll tell you that, look, we look at the Nigerian system, you hear things like Betta Edu, you hear things like ministers misappropriating money, you hear civil servants say,
why should we put our money
snake swallowed money.
They put their money everywhere else with ease in shows. I just don't want to get into it, in things that, you know.
But those money, if you look very closely, the people they put their money or the institutions or organizations that put their money into are private organizations. Government at any level is not benchmarked to, do I say,
best performance?
Best performance, exactly. There are no KPIs, there's no structure, there's nothing. It's pretty much, you know, on a whim and on basically how it comes. I mean, but if you talk, we've worked with corporate organizations, they want to see structure, they want to see accounts, they want to see KPIs, they want to see deliverables. These are people who can measure performance.
So these things are already working against.
Exactly, and that's really the problem why the private sector really has this, do I say, standoffish, do I say, attitude towards Nigerian sports.
It's
because
not like they don't want to.
It's not like they don't want to.
There's no structure in place to be able to.
It's like putting your money in a bottomless pit. There is absolutely no guarantee that you get a return on your investment. And thankfully, the Super Eagles on Nigerian football national team is absolutely the biggest sporting property in this country. It can generate by itself. I know people are working to just merchandising alone for this AFCON can be as much as the 12 billion that you're talking about.
Wow. It's not so easy. I mean, imagine a private sector wants to invest now and then you hear the Betta Edu story. Just hold on.
You see, she still wants to say that joke again.
One of the things that we have been talking about are not things that are new to us.
But there also
there is no structure. If we do not have structure, we cannot attract funding.
So Tunde, how old is the NFF?
Was
founded in, I believe, 1959, 1963. I believe.
So if the NFF is a grown man, and this grown man has been repeating the same thing and is waiting for handouts from, his grandfather, let the federal government be the grandfather. Yeah. Would we not call the grown man insane? Would we not call him lazy?
Exactly. In fact, we'll say he's going to hellfire.
It's when a windfall comes, honestly, let's just imagine hypothetically, this money drops. Trust me, the next week we're going to have internal rancor within the association that is supposed to disburse this money. Trust me. So we'll grapple with that again, and the time for preparation for all these competitions are going away. All our parastatals, all the stadiums, they're not being maintained. Is it every time that we have a tournament, that's what we go and plant grass? Or are we going to go and put rubber grass that will hurt the athletes?
Apparently you did not know that there were sports analysts on JASIRI with you.
Now I do.
But so what do we do about the internal leadership of the NFF? Do you think they're capable of disbursing this money as it should be disbursed when the windfall falls eventually?
Let's give them the benefit of doubt. Let me just put it that way. That's what we can do.
We have been doing that.
We have a fairly new NFF leadership that has been there for just a year now. So far, so good. They are doing the best they can under limited circumstances. And so far, so good. They have not been found wanting yet.
This might be the situation.
So this will be the real litmus test
for them.
When the money comes, do the players get their money as at when? Because even at the last Africa Cup of Nations, all the players at Wendy, the only player who was based in Nigeria, he had to fight tooth, nail, toenail.
That's even selective.
Just to get.
Why are you prioritized? Everybody has come for national service. Why only?
Things.
Probably because they know that that's the only one they can easily get away with.
Of course.
So Babatunde has told us we need to wait, because while the president has said, yes, give the money. We don't know what pipelines or channels or the time it's going to take for that money to reach the national teams and those involved. And especially with AFCON starting this weekend. So quickly, what can we look forward to? AFCON is happening. I know you guys are covering everything. Just give us a little taste.
So big news coming out of the Nigerian national team today. One of the key players, Victor Boniface, has a muscle injury. He will be missing from the tournament, and he was started one of the stars of the tournament, so a replacement has been called up pretty quickly. But News Central will be giving you live reports from Abidjan, from Vox Pop, sights and sounds of from the country itself, meeting with fans, other players, and from other countries. It's going to be a really interesting package.
Do you think we'll do well, though? I mean, do you have confidence?
I said last
I'm not
question.
saying it. Sorry.
I said last question.
It's interesting. It just keeps bringing out good stuff.
One sentence.
One sentence.
Don't say no.
Not diplomatic, eh?
Until thy hands, dear Lord, you commit our players. That's all.
You're watching JASIRI. We'll be right back after this. Stay with us.
Oh my God.
I love to make a difference as a journalist because when you speak to the situation or the people affected, that's when you get the full story.
And so we go all out. The protest was ongoing and it was peaceful across the plains for real-time stories. And it was the longest bridge until the 6th of October bridge was completed in Cairo, Egypt. Ni Omoni. This is News Central.
Our off-air conversations are probably a bit more interesting than the ones on air. We won't tell you what Babatunde said. He gave us what he thinks the Super Eagles' chances are in AFCON. But as we said, stay tuned to News Central. We have all the information, everything happening with AFCON, because we're going to have a man on the ground for all of the competitions. So definitely, you know, our sports team has you locked down. But I know if I don't give Blessings an opportunity to repeat this joke, we will not hear peace. Blessings, one more time.
Look, if I say this and you don't get it, then it's on you, because comedians like me don't have to explain jokes, okay? So this is it, right?
Oh,
the situation in the country now is like there's disappointment, right? About somebody who's supposed to do better with her educational background. Wow. Do the math.
Oh my God.
Thank you for this opportunity. It meant so much to my career. I feel like I can start something now.
Yeah.
Stop encouraging her.
Blessings, I'm totally for you, girl. You're not the comedian here.
Sis, can I have your autograph?
Ladies and gentlemen, and on that note, we'll wrap up the show for today. I don't know if Blessings is going to come with something else tomorrow.
Watch out.
We don't know what's going to happen.
I guess it's a Gen Z thing.
We Gen Zs know ourselves.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Me too, I'm funny. I'm funny.
This is it.
Yeah, we all are funny.
Oh, can you imagine? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time on JASIRI. Don't forget to use our hashtag JASIRI, and of course, follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. Peace.
Everybody's funny in their own way.
Yeah, you're not funny. What are you talking about? What is funny?
No,
I like the